Hello, welcome to another video on Truckers World. This time I'm going to be reviewing some work I did on the agency involving general haulage. Okay, so it's bread and butter really of trucking job, really, class 2, especially general haulage. So there's many companies out there. First of all, you see them all dotted about on the motorway, some really big ones out there which you'll see. I work for, I would say, a medium, maybe smaller size company. I'm not going to give the name, but I went there at an agency and I was doing a lot of the overspill and also covering holidays as well. So I worked there good, probably I would say month, 2 months maybe, give or take, dotted around through several weeks. I drove majority of DAF trucks. Some were quite good. I did drive a nice Scania, but that was covering someone's holiday. And I also drove some pretty older ones as well. Some of the old school manual trucks. They're not the best ones to drive. Excuse me, if you've ever driven one. Got the old gear sticks that look like bedposts, and literally ragging that thing in everywhere you go. It's not the best experience of driving. So I've given different vehicles at different times. On my run, I started at 8 o'clock. Nice start time, that. And I was generally finished for about maybe 4, half 4 latest. I think one time I finished at 5. Now you have to bear in mind I was paid a general rate. I think it was maybe £13 an hour. And then after 8 hours, I will be then given time and a half. So it's obviously within the company's interest to try and keep within those 8 hours. It's a big difference, isn't it, from 13 to something like 19 and a half. So bear that in mind. That's why I finished probably at those times. However, that being said, the regular lads were coming back at the same time as me quite a lot of the time as well. So, you know, not too bad really for start and finishing times. How many drops? Well, I didn't get a lot of drops considering. I ranged from maybe 3 drops and maybe a collection to, I think the most I ever did were 10 drops on one occasion. So, you know, it varied a little bit. The average were maybe 4 or 5, give or take. And from where I was based, I never really travelled any further than maybe 10 miles. It was very, very local, maybe 15 tops, you know. So what you do in the morning, obviously, you do your vehicle checks. Now, these vehicles, like I said, you know, some of them rust buckets, weren't very nice, some were okay. But generally speaking, as far as road terms were concerned, they were generally kept in decent road terms condition. Any issues you had, they had their own little repair shop there, you'd hand in a note and it would get seen to, you know. So even though they were rust buckets, they were generally quite well on the road, you know, quite mechanically sound. So you do your check, sometimes on your phone, sometimes paperwork, etc. You'd be given your paperwork, a phone, works phone, and away you went. Okay, the vehicle was already loaded for you, or it was being loaded for you. They were curtain-side trucks you were driving, and all you would do is strap it up. Basically, it wasn't strapping across. You have these wagons, I can't think what they're called, but the straps come down from the middle, and you tie them, basically just clip them on underneath as you go. So many of the drops I went for were forklift. I'd say at least probably 90% of them there were. The odd one where you had to pump truck it down, so you have to make sure you have the pump truck down and the tail lift. I did get myself in a bit of a pickle. I think it was pump trucking down pallet load of vegetable oil. Difficult, very heavy, and the tail lift kind of raised a little bit above, so it was really tricky going to get it. Actually got on the tail lift safely. Almost had a really bad accident there. But yeah, most of it was done by forklift, so that's okay. Most of the places had plenty of room. You could have a good look at most of them you could get into. There were the odd few, and I will say this, I'd probably say 8 out of 10, plenty of room to get into, spin it around, reverse, everything fine. There was obviously that last percentage, really, 20% maybe, that you had to make sure, look on Google Maps, and I had to phone a couple of companies just to say, look, you know, look quite tight round here, where's the best place to go, that kind of thing. But that's, you know, usually they have a number, a phone number you can stop close by, just to ensure that you can obviously have enough space to get the drop off. But the majority did have enough room, and the majority was forklift. And it was fairly easy. Curtain open, forklift off, signatures, done and dusted. I would say every day I had my dinner. There was no problems in rushing around. I had a chance to have my dinner and a break. That was all good. There were times where I'd done my drops pretty early and I would phone up transport office and say, right, I'm done, where do you want me to go next? And they would just say, right, okay, we'll give you a call back, just hang fire for now. And I could be waiting for an hour, you know, waiting for that call back, you know, and they were fine about it. They were absolutely fine. Likewise, sometimes you go to a delivery. There was one in particular, massive unit, and of course you were going to be waiting there for a good hour, maybe. And again, you know, at first I felt compelled to put it on a break, but you didn't really need to. You know, I could have done that drop, done a couple more, they didn't chase you up, and you were mostly done by about maybe 11ish, maybe 12, and you just have your dinner as normal. You know, it all seemed to work itself out quite well, in all fairness. The collections, again, same as before, majority was fine, forklift on. They were fairly close by to you. Sometimes they'd send you a little bit further afield if they needed to, but it was never anything really stressful, to be honest. Not that I can remember. Coming back, again, you just drive into like a little bay. Sorry, not a bay, like underneath, like a canopy, and the forklift truck drivers would come. You just undo your curtains, they come unload everything, etc, etc. I think normal drivers had to scan their parcels. As agency drivers, we didn't have to do that. And that is about it. At the end of the shift, you wasn't compelled to, but you know, they told you where the fuel area was. They had been on fuel, which was quite handy. And they all had blue on there. The majority of times you didn't have to fuel up because you weren't doing that many miles in the day. You just wasn't, literally. Only maybe at the end of the week, you'd go and fuel up and have done. I knew a couple of agency drivers and a couple of actually full-timers, because they were paid by the hour. If they were back early, they'd just waste time fueling up, putting the wagon through the wash, etc., just to add another hour or two on their day. Management team were fine. One of the main transport managers, he was fine. He was fine. He sometimes maybe a bit short with one or two people I heard, not with me personally, but I believe he was absolutely fine with me. As long as you sound with him and, yep, whatever you need doing, that's fine, you know, then they were fine. There was one office lad, quite a young lad, who kind of not took over his role, but followed on his shift in taking the paperwork. And I don't think I ever saw him crack a smile. Very low tone voice, constantly. You almost needed a hearing aid to hear him at times. But other than that, yeah, the office staffs were fine, absolutely fine. And all the other drivers, your co-drivers there, always happy to help. They were great lads as well. Overall, the company was really good, and the great thing for me, it was literally a maybe 5 to 7 minute drive down the road. It was fantastic. But overall, my experience of general haulage kind of set my way of where I wanted to be driving. And I'm not saying all the class 2 driving jobs are going to be like as easy as that, but that's the kind of thing I wanted, you know. Obviously pallets most of the time, going to decent units. I know it doesn't always happen in reality, but forklift truck drivers, taking them off, that's what you wanted really, you know, minimal handball as far as I was concerned. I was happy doing general haulage. Some people are a little bit worried about general haulage because they tend to think, well, you never know what you're going to be carrying, but I never found that an issue. That I carried various bits of items, big, small, you know, really big. It never really was an issue, you know, just make sure I strapped up. They were never going anywhere because they were quite heavy anyway. And the vehicle, I don't think, was ever overloaded. It never felt that way, even when you were going uphill. I never really felt you were overloaded as such. But yeah, overall, general haulage, I would recommend it as class 2 driving, because I think it is the bread and butter. And yeah, if you can get on a decent company where they go to places where it's mostly forklift, it's fine. The odd occasion where you would have to pump truck it down, a bit awkward at times, but it wasn't really that bad. Overall, my experience of general haulage within this company was quite good. Of course, obviously, I was an agency. I might have been given a bit of an easy run here and there, but there were times when I wasn't, and even when I was on the harder runs, the majority of the times I was fairly happy with. I did have one instance where I got myself into a pickle. I will make a video about that. The way the drop was and how you had to get into it was a bit tricky, but I'll make another video on that later down the line. But overall, I was quite happy with general haulage, and I would recommend it. Okay, that's the end of my video. Give it a thumbs up if you like. Add some comments if you want to suggest a video for me to do. Then I'm more than happy to do that. Okay, thank you again for watching, and keep on trucking. Thank you.